Hi folks, Mike with ModSolar here today. Very excited to show you the new ModSolar incentives architecture and changes to incentives that are going to make your life even easier when using the ModSolar platform. The amount of automation that we've included and the ease of use and turning incentives on and off, along with the ease of calculations, is going to get you really excited and make your job even easier than it is today when using the ModSolar platform, which is of course what we're here to do for you. So with that nice intro, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and just quickly add a proposal to an existing lead. I'm not going to spend too much time here in the proposal generation process until we get to the new incentive screen, which is what I want to show you. So I'm just going to go ahead quickly and easily add a region to this roof. Okay, square it up, snap the azimuth, turn it a little bit here for size, so on and so forth. And let's go ahead and lay out panels. Pretty small system here. We're going to just really pick the first edge and line case that we've got. Of course, the freeforms basically do the same thing. Let's go on to incentives. Now, this is where you're going to see the biggest changes, of course. This is the new incentive screen, and you'll see on the left-hand side, we do have more information, but it's presented very simply and easily for you, and probably in the way that you think about your proposals. The goal of this screen is to present you with a view that you can manipulate before you actually produce a proposal to enable you to tweak the numbers and see the numbers much easier and much faster before you actually get there. So what do I have in front of me? Well, you'll notice that we've had three key sections. The first is we've got adders. These are additional things that you want to call out separately above the cost of materials and labor to your prospect. So it could be the cost of permits, additional costs, whatever it is. Then we have discounts. These are any discounts that you want to call out separately and show to your customer for whatever's going on in your sales process. And then finally, we have the incentives here, and this is where the real power comes in. We've redone our incentives architecture so that you can turn incentives on and off as much as you like. So now, whereas before you could only put in state-specific incentives or incentives that have always applied in all cases at the state level, now you could get much more granular and turn incentives off by county, by municipality, by utility, whatever it is, okay? So let me show you how to operate this page. So first off, I'm going to turn on the cost of permits. Let's say I want to charge $550 for permits, and then I want to put in another adder here for a high roof pitch, okay? Because we're going to have more costs in rigging the guys and whatnot. So now that that's done, you'll notice that the total system cost updates whenever I make a change. And that's true for the entire page. Anytime I make a change to a section, all the numbers update. It's very dynamic and shows you exactly what you got. So now I'm going to go ahead and give this person a friends and family discount. Maybe it's my brother-in-law. And we'll say that that's $2,000, pretty generous. Now notice that I can very easily delete or re-add at any point. And again, all the numbers update. So now that we've done that, we come to the meat of the change, which is the ability to turn incentives on and off. So from now on, you will see the federal tax credit, the federal depreciation if it's a commercial proposal, any state incentives that you have, and then any local incentives that you have or utility-based incentives that you have, and I'll show you how to add those in just a minute. In this case, the PA Sunshine program has expired, but let me just double check. Okay, so it's 75 cents per watt up to 10,000 watts. I'm actually going to go ahead and turn that off because it's no longer in existence in Pennsylvania or there's a waiting list. So, but instead of that, I'm saying that there's going to be a local municipal rebate. And let's say that's of $1,000. Now, if you need to calculate any rebate off of the total production, notice that the total production or the DC wattage is up here at the top right from the panel layout. So you have that information if you do need to calculate an incentive manually. Now that we've done that, we can go ahead and preview the proposal. But before I show you that, quickly I want to show you that we've actually made the price per watt on this page editable. So that if I change my price per watt to $4 from $3.50, I want you to look at this total out-of-pocket costs. You'll see how it updates to $67.49 from about $5,000 and something, okay? Completely dynamic, makes it much easier for you to tweak your numbers. Let's move on to the next page and preview the proposal. So one of the key things I want to show you in the previewing of the proposal is how the numbers actually break up on the top left section of the proposal, and this applies to cash proposals only. So you'll notice here that we've got our cost of materials and labor, then we've got the two adders that we had, the permits and the high roof pitch, and then we come up with the total system cost. We then subtract our friends and family discount, and again, any discounts, as many discounts as you want, are going to show up here. And then it gives you a net system cost, which is the label change that we're doing. Once we've done the net system cost, we then subtract our incentives, and we come up with a total out-of-pocket cost. Now, let's say, for example, that I don't have any discounts. What do I want to do? Well, what's nice about the way we've done this is that if I click the back button and want to make a change, of course, everything is saved for me. So I'm going to go ahead and delete the local municipal rebate. And I'm also going to delete the friends and family discounts so you can see what happens when there's a particular section that doesn't have a particular discount or adder or incentive. And what you see here is that that section doesn't appear. So we took away the discount. We now don't have the discount line. We just have total system costs and then the federal tax credit for obviously a much higher out-of-pocket cost. Okay, so that is how it works. Now, the last thing is that if I do change my price per watt, let's say I want to change it back down to 350 because after removing those incentives and discounts, I was disappointed. I can regenerate, and I see that actually all the numbers update right there on the form, regardless of the numbers I put in. So if the federal tax credit is based, obviously, is variable, or some of the other incentives, they're going to update automatically for you. Okay, so that is how it works in the proposal generation flow. Now let's go and talk about settings. So I'm going to go back to my leads page, but I've opened up another tab here. So here is the settings screen. Now here is a big change. So for those of you that are administrators out here, and administrators only have access, okay, for those of you that are administrators, you can click on incentive calculations. Now, in incentive calculations, you'll see that this page is completely changed. Before, it was just a blob of text showing you what incentives we had loaded for you in the back end. Now we've actually made this intelligent and allow you to interact with it. So the first thing is I see here is that I've got incentives for 3 states, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, and South Carolina. Now let's say that I'm actually doing business in New York and I wanted to add a state. Well, what I can do here is that when I add a state under your states and SRECs, any default incentives that we have in the library are going to show up for you. So in this case, I'm going to add New York and save it. And when I come back to the incentive calculations page, you'll notice that I have New York. Now, when I click on New York, I see all of the default incentives. I see the NYSERDA for residential and commercial, the LIPA, and then the state solar tax credit. If I want to turn on these incentives for my sales force, I simply click the checkbox. If there's an incentive I don't want to show across the sales force, then I leave this unchecked. But in this case, I actually want them all to apply. Now, in order to see what the incentive is about, simply click on it, and you'll see that the fields over here on the right update. So we've got the name of the incentive, the label on the proposal, which you can now change at any time. Before, you used to have to call ModSolar, but now you can change this at any time. Here's the incentive text description, the sectors to which it applies, whether it's residential, commercial, municipal, and a new feature we've added, the ability to actually add zip code-based incentives. So if you wanted to create an incentive that applied to certain zip codes, we can actually do that now for you, and that's a new piece of functionality, very robust to make things much easier. So now that I've done that, I can see it. So next up is I'm going to add an incentive, which is a new feature we have with this improved architecture, and it's really a good one. So it's much easier for you now to update incentive. You simply click on the Add an Incentive button, and I can pick the state that the incentive applies to. Now notice that only the incentives that are in this dropdown are the ones that I have selected for me in general. So I'm going to select New York. I'm going to say it applies to the residential and the commercial sector. I'm going to put the name on it, Mike incentive. And the label on the proposal is Mike Solar is great incentive. And for the incentive text description, I can just quickly add a description. Now, we want to make sure this is reasonably complete, because if you have a municipal incentive that's only familiar to you and your municipality, then you're going to want to describe that pretty well, or with normal ways that, let's say, Desire describes incentives. So in this case, I'm just going to say $1,000 rebate flat. And the word rebate or incentive or credit, things like that, those are all great words to describe it. So instead, I could put in, 0.50 cents a DC watt local income tax credit or something like that, okay? And then, of course, the label on the proposal can apply. Now, the next is do you want this to apply to any zip codes? If you're doing a local incentive, it might just be easier to do a zip code filter and grab all the local incentives or grab all the zip codes for the area to which the incentive applies. That way, you will only see the incentive, or your salespeople will only see the incentive when they're actually generating a proposal in that particular municipality. And that can be very powerful and even easier for them. And that way they know that the system's got it right and you have it right. So once I hit submit, I get a message telling me that it's been saved and we've been notified, and we will review it and install it into the platform for you very easily and very quickly. So, of course, if you'd like to have that done on the fly, just feel free to give a call to the customer support line. And there you go. You see the two incentives, and they're italicized to indicate that they're there, and you can click on them, but they're not actually installed yet, okay, meaning that the work that has to happen here back at ModSolar hasn't been done yet. Once they are approved, they will actually go in, and the text will be normal like you see right here, and the trash cans will be replaced by checkboxes. So that is how you add an incentive. Now, two last features that I want to show. The first is, let's say that if you're actually working in New York, you know that there is some calculation order differences with the way that the state and federal incentives work. So in this case, you'll notice that instead of having the federal tax credits above the NYSERDA, in this case, the NYSERDA is actually above the federal tax credits. And what I'm noticing here is that the LIPA needs to go in the same place. So very quickly and easily, I can just click on it. You'll notice that I've got a hand, okay, and the LIPA can just be dragged up before the federal tax credit. So this is calculation order or calculation sequence, and it's a very easy way for you to ensure that your calculations at the state level are going to be done correctly. Again, keep in mind that we've already done this for you if you've got a special calculation order coming into this new incentives architecture. So that's how it works. The other cool feature here is that you can actually put an adjusted total in. So you can actually put an adjusted total in here and get a total after these incentives, or move it after federal or after makers, or do it any way you want. Okay, again, very, very powerful functionality, and I'm going to go ahead and save that. The final thing I want to show you here is over here in states and SRECs. Let's say I want to go ahead and add a state. Let me see, let me add Maryland. So I'm going to go ahead and add Maryland and save it. And if we've got this system loaded up correctly, when I come back here to incentive calculations, you'll see that Maryland has been added. And if I click the button to expand, there is the default state solar energy grant. So there it is. So that's how easy it is to add incentives. You simply add the state, and the system does it for you automatically. So that's the new incentives architecture from ModSolar. Again, we're very excited about this. We hope you are too. We know you're going to find it much easier to use. And again, this is ModSolar. We will constantly be releasing things at no extra charge to you that will add value, make your process faster, and help you close more business. We're always here for you. Please give us a call. We're on the web at modsolar.net. Thank you very much for your time, and we look forward to speaking with you soon.